So, my name is Simon Boyar, and I'm here to talk about drumming. You know, I actually have students all over the world, and I've taught everything from drum set to mallet percussion, timpani. So I've come up with a system that I use, and this is just a way of sort of breaking down the basic fundamentals, the basic concepts of drumming. I've had many excellent teachers, but there was one teacher I had, Joe Morello, the great, the great genius, you know, who really broke this down for me years ago when I studied with him. He explained it to me. He said, look, Simon, here's the thing. If you learn how to do things where the stick works for you, where you don't actually do any of the work, and if you build those skills in a very slow and deliberate process, there will be no limits to what you can accomplish in terms of speed and ultimately, and more importantly, expression. In my case, I play for days. You know, I'm up in the morning, I'm usually doing some sort of rehearsal, then I'm here at the Simon Boyar School of Drums and Percussion, I'm teaching, recording, you know, concerts at night, very often Friday through Sunday, so I have to play constantly. So if I didn't have a great relationship with the drum, I would be screwed. I'd be totally screwed. So we're going to start with Rebound. I'm using actually thick SD1 General drumsticks for this Rebound portion. I like to do these kinds of concepts with sticks that are just a little bit heavier. I think it's good if you can manipulate a lot of weight, we can easily take away from that weight, but I've always found that sometimes it's harder if you're manipulating a small amount of weight to go to a large amount. So I just like to start with this sort of big block concept with my stick, and then from there we sculpt, you know, we cut away from the block. And I have to go back to Joe Morello one last time before I start, because, you know, the first lesson I had with Joe was he said, we're going to hold the sticks the wrong way. And that's what I want you to do. We hold the stick the wrong way. We sort of are going to put it between our index finger and our middle finger. And what we're going to do is we're going to relax our hands at our side, just the way we're walking down the street. Drumming is no different than walking down the street. It's easy. Drumming is easy. You're just going to bring your hands up like you're naturally playing. Remember, we're still holding the sticks the wrong way. We're pulling the sticks up, and then all we're going to do is we're going to take the stick and we're going to throw it and let it come back. Now, I'm sure the first time you try this, you're going to get something like this, where you're going to throw it, stop the stick, and then pull it back up. That is absolutely incorrect. That is causing tension. What we want is one motion, and then the stick comes back. And just to review, you're putting your hands at your side. You're picking up the sticks naturally. Stick is an extension of the arm. We pull it up. Now all this does is this gives us the feel of what a real rebound feels like. Now we're going to talk about how to actually hold the stick and get that rebound. So, you have your thumb and your first finger, and your thumb's going to be sort of on the side of the stick. Your first finger is going to connect, and it's almost like you're going to be able to drive that stick between those two. And that's really what we call a fulcrum. Now, some people will have a very open fulcrum. Some people have an absolutely closed fulcrum. I'm a little bit in between. Options are really important. You know, my fulcrum might slightly change from time to time. You notice that I'm choking up. I'm not choking up too much. I'm not choking up too little. I'm sort of right over the sort of wording on the stick. You know, we have that fulcrum, thumb, first finger, and then the rest of our fingers just go naturally around the stick. They do not squeeze the stick. They don't squeeze it. If we squeeze, or if we have no fingers on the stick, then again, we're screwed. We're going to not be able to play with any sort of expression or agility. So now we have the stick in the proper holding position. We have our fulcrum, that's our thumb and our first finger, called the fulcrum. We have our fingers wrapped around the stick. We're not choking up too much. Now we're going to do that same thing we did before. We're going to put our sticks at our side. We're going to relax them, totally relax, and we're going to bring the sticks up to the drum pad. Let's make sure the tips of the sticks are close together. We want to generally have about a V position. So like this. We don't want that. A lot of people do that. We don't want that. Sort of the, you know, chicken wing or the zombie or whatever. We want to have that V position. And then, just like before, we pull the sticks up, and all we're going to do is try to simulate that rebound that we got when we were holding the sticks the wrong way. And this is almost like a check, where you have that feeling really easy, and then you hold the sticks properly and you try to simulate that feeling. Now, the best way to work on this, and I just want to sort of pull up a metronome here because that's really, how I always practice with the metronome. I just have an app on my phone, the Pro Metronome, but there are, plenty of apps that you can get. And what we can do, and what I always recommend, is you want to get Stick Control by George Lawrence Stone. And by the way, George Stone was Joe Morello's teacher. So everything I show you is always going to be part of that amazing lineage. We start with stick control, and if you look at the first 3 pages, you're going to see columns of different patterns that you can do. And each column sort of just represents a different way that we can slowly work on our rebound. And I'm actually, going to do it so slow that this is actually an 8th note on my metronome. So we're at 90 right now. 8th note equals 90. Super slow, right? Nice and close together. And we just pull our wrists back. Now remember, if you start out this way, you can't pull your wrists back. You're creating tension. Bring them up, okay? And then we pull the sticks back. And we can just start doing those different columns. The first one is right, left, right, left. And you know what? Don't be afraid to just sit there and work on this forever. You don't have to go on. Now let me make one more point about this, which is your elbows. Your elbows, you want them when you're doing an exercise like this to be in front of you. So go ahead and feel free. You can adjust sort of where your stool is if you need to sort of figure it out. Because if you're too close to the pad and your elbows are behind you, you're actually obstructing the energy. And that flow of energy is so important. So once you get that rebound stroke, and you've really worked on it and you really feel like you have it, I want to give you a little bit more of a practical use for it. So, Joe Morello used to call these big rebound strokes the full stroke. And you can see why he would call them that, because they're sort of like, they're full, for lack of a better word. We're turning all the way up. The truth is, though, we don't always play drums that way. So what we want to do is immediately we want to sort of bring this stroke down about halfway to what he used to call the half stroke. We could call it the normal stroke, but basically it's about half of your full stroke. And what you can do is you would go through that stick control again at about half of the height. You can experiment with different tempi. You want to you might find, okay, I really need to go, all right, nothing wrong with that. Just make sure you don't hurt yourself. You don't feel any tension. See what I'm doing? So that's my half stroke. Now eventually, once you get that half stroke really cooking, you can do an exercise where you actually just do, and this will be something I cover in a later video, but a quick version of what Joe used to call stone killers, where you're doing 4s, 8s, 12s, and 16s. So we could sort of do 4 in a hand. Maybe do about 10 of those and go to 8. Easy. Maybe go to 12. And then from there, 16. And you could also do all different combinations. You just kind of keep doing them. So you do these at all different tempos, and these half strokes are really, really important because, they're going to get you sort of playing in a more natural way and learning to use the rebound at only half of that height, which is really key. You have to use the rebound everywhere or you'll never be able to play anything.